a muffed punt.
At the very end of the game by Cole Beasley.
And that was also the same game where Des Bryant and Greg Hardy almost came to blows on the sidelines. But the bottom line is, what a huge win for the Giants. Big win for them. Eli Manning played very well. They actually got a semblance of a running game that time. And it was one of the kids that the Giants have who really surprised a lot of people. He's a rookie from Tulane. Unfortunately, the kid's name escapes me, but he came away with a really impressive drive on one of the Giants' touchdown scores, which really impressed me. They need to give this kid a little bit more of a chance down the road.
Definitely, and that's all Week 7. Let's go into Week 8. For the bye week, Buffalo, please, Tyrod Taylor, get healthy soon. Jacksonville Jaguars, please have T.J. Yeldon run the ball more. Philadelphia Eagles, protect Sam Bradford.
And try and cut down on all of these 3-and-outs, please. It's really starting to make Eagle fans fall asleep at their TV sets.
Hell, definitely. I would be upset if I was a South Philly resident. All right, the Redskins, Kirk Cousins, here's an idea. When you don't intercept, or when you don't get intercepted, your team wins.
When you don't turn the ball over, you have a chance of winning.
And when you do get picked off, your team loses, especially you've done it twice in each game that you've lost. Now let's go to last night's game, Thursday Night Football. In New England, we had the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and it was all Patriots all the time, including the opening drive, 47-yard touchdown pass from Tom Brady to Rob Gronkowski, 4 touchdowns in the night, 355 yards. And 2 touchdowns of which in the fourth quarter to Julian Edelman. They beat the Dolphins 36-7.
Well, so much for that 2-game winning streak that the Dolphins had. The Patriots completely dominate the Dolphins. Do you know that Tom Brady has had 7 300-yard games lifetime against the Dolphins? That's the most that the Dolphins have ever given up to any quarterback lifetime.
It's really atrocious, and you know what? You got to give it up to the Patriots organization. Deion Lewis, that kid has been an unbelievable find for them. All right, now let's go to the in-the-neighborhood games. We got the New York Jets visiting the Oakland Raiders for a 4 o'clock CBS special.
And this is probably the worst thing that could happen to the Jets right now, having to be forced to travel 3,000 miles west to play the Raiders. The Jets never, ever play well in Oakland. I think they probably have 1 victory lifetime in NorCal. This is why the Raiders win on Sunday.
But yet, the Raiders have lost 6 out of the last 8 games against the Jets, including last year's Week 1 victory, 19-14. But that was Derek Carr's debut. And after that game, the Jets went on to lose 8 straight until Week 10 against Pittsburgh. But now, this week, they really need a win. The matchup to look for, Amari Cooper versus Darrelle Revis. Who wins that match, wins the game.
Yeah, and that's going to be the turning point in whichever side comes away with a victory. I still like the Raiders in this one. The Jets never play well in Oakland. I hate to say this, but this is probably the game where Derek Carr actually looks good for a change.
He looked good last week. He's been looking. There are times where he's made some mistakes. He still, to me, is a good, decent quarterback, and he's got better receivers. He's got Crabtree, a guy who could be the first 1,000-yard receiver in a decade for this Raiders organization. They could have their first winning record since they went to the Super Bowl.
Do you realize that things are actually looking slightly better for the Raiders ever since Al Davis passed away? I mean, we never, ever like to talk ill of the dead, but things are actually looking up for the Raiders with Mark Davis running things now. He's a polar opposite of his dad, where his dad was 1,000,000% more controlling. Mark Davis is more of a laissez-faire type of owner.
Well, let's see how the rest of the season works for them and Reggie McKenzie. Now, the Giants going to NOLA to take on the Saints, a homecoming of sorts for Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, that's right. Eli Manning was born and raised in New Orleans, attended the same high school that his 2 brothers, Peyton and Cooper Manning, attended, which is St. Augustine High.
The same that Odell Beckham went to.
That's right. Odell Beckham Jr. went to St. Augustine's High, then made a career out of himself for LSU. Could this be a happy homecoming for those two? If it is, the Giants have to take advantage of that weak defense that the Saints have. And this is the type of game where Drew Brees could really be licking his chops because the Giants have had major pass rush problems, as I've said before.
But
and you give him enough time, he's going to find an open receiver.
So who are you going for?
My pick is the Saints here.
Mine is too. It's not because of that. It's actually both teams have pretty bad defenses against the run. But I think last week you saw Kerry Robinson with the 2 rushing touchdowns and Mark Ingram. He's going to have a big day on the ground. I'm going with the Saints. Okay, now let's go to the next. And we're going to go through these quickly. We got the Packers facing the Broncos. A battle of undefeateds on Sunday Night Football in the Mile High.
That is definitely prime time material right there. One thing is for certain. Somebody's going to lose. And my pick is going to be the Packers to lose. I think Denver wins this game.
I'm going with Denver, too. It's their defense that has scored a touchdown almost every game in 4 games this year. They're the reason why they're undefeated. But I think this is the night where Peyton Manning will overcome the fact that he has 7 TDs to 10 interceptions. He's going to have a big performance. And that rushing game, expect plenty of C.J. Anderson to run all over the Green Bay defense. All right, the next game right here. We got the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World being visited by the secondary of the Seattle Seahawks.
2 teams desperately needing a win to try and keep their seasons afloat. The Seahawks just want to break even. The Cowboys just need a win. They have a 4-game losing streak right now. But this game is all about quarterback play. And is Dez Bryant going to return from his foot injury? He's now been upgraded a little bit to questionable. And he's been limited in practice today. Notice I say limited, which means at least he did get a little bit of time on the field, which tells me he might make an appearance at Sunday's game. And this could be his game where he actually makes Matt Castle look good, because if there's anything that can make a quarterback look good, it's his receiving core. Dez Bryant is the best receiver that he's got out there. This is why the game is going to be a little bit closer, but I still like Seattle in this one.
I like Seattle, too. And look at the matchup between Bryant and Sherman. That's going to be a big matchup right there. And I want to see how the Cowboys' offensive line, how they're going to be able to stop the pass rush of, say, Michael Bennett, who got 3.5 sacks last week against San Francisco. In fact, has 6.5 to tie for the NFL lead. He's a monster in that defensive line. Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks. All right, how about a battle of the AFC North? You got the undefeated Bengals visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The only saving grace that the Steelers have in this game is that they're at home. Other than that, we still don't know what Ben Roethlisberger's health status is right now. Not only that, but the Bengals are just better. They're better on each side of the ball. I like Cincinnati in this one.
I like Cincinnati. Actually, you know what? I'm not going Cincinnati. This week, I'm going Pittsburgh. I'm going with
interesting
them to actually turn things over. I think this is the week where the running game will be really prominent for Le'Veon Bell. Mm-hmm. And honestly, this could be the week with Ben Roethlisberger returning.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see him play. I'm going with the Steelers.
There you go.
It's going to be a big match for him. All right, the Colts visiting the Panthers. Monday Night Football. The Colts desperately need a victory in this one. This is their offensive line, who's been at fault this year a bit, too. 16 holding penalties, the most in the league.
And this is what sabotages drives, especially scoring drives, so many times in that sport. The Panthers are just better on each side of the ball. They're better at, as far as who's got the edge at quarterback, both of these young men are just dynamic, but Cam Newton's just played better this season, and he's got a really underrated running game to show for it and a really good receiving game to show for it. I like Carolina in this one.
I like Carolina as well. Cam Newton, yes, he's completed 55.8% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 78.4 rating. But Carolina, their running game is number 7th in the league. That's what him and Jonathan Stewart have really got this offense going. And Greg Olsen has been really an amazing player for them in terms of the receiving core. Now let's go to the next matchup of the NFC North. You got the Minnesota Vikings visiting the Bears in Soldier Field.
I think you might know where I'm going with this one. First off, Jay Cutler is complete fool's gold. Sorry, but I'm no fan of his. His mechanics are horrible. He's a locker room cancer. And quite frankly, Teddy Bridgewater has improved his level of play so much this season. And he's got a really good receiving core and one of the best running backs in the league, Adrian Peterson, to work with. All Vikings in this one.
You know, in the first game of the first 3 games, Bridgewater's had 505 yards, 1 touchdown. In the first 3. Since, 834 and 4 touchdowns. Talk about improving right there. Stephon Diggs has been his biggest target, including last week against Detroit. 7 out of 9 catches on the day, 108 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I'm going Vikings all day, every day. Now, you got the Arizona Cardinals, led by Carson Palmer, returning to the first state of his NFL career, Ohio.
That's right. Carson Palmer was a Cincinnati Bengal for 9 seasons. He only made the playoffs twice in 9 seasons playing for the Bengals.
Though,
Statistically wise, he had a solid career, but results wise, the Bengals just could not win for the poor man. Overall, he's had a decent career, but it's just a matter of where he's been able to click. Right now, he's clicking with the Cardinals. Speaking of clicking, I think Browns fans may be on suicide watch because that click that you just heard is the click of the barrel of a gun. For these Browns fans having to witness what they've seen.
I don't know about that. It's just
to give you an idea how dire things have gotten in Cleveland again. There was a really funny Instagram photo of this one Browns fan's house, and it had mock tombstones of every single quarterback that has played for the Browns since 1999.
22 to be exact.
22 quarterbacks in 16 and a half years.
And with the way things are going right now, with McCown probably not playing this week, the fact that Manziel's gotten a lot of the first-team reps, and God forbid he goes down with an injury, Manziel, then you got to go to number 23, Austin Davis. So that might actually happen this game because of this Arizona defense. We may see Austin Davis play. I wouldn't be shocked. But in the end, it doesn't matter whether it's Manziel, Davis, McCown.
The Browns are still terrible, and that's why I'm picking Arizona.
And you got to feel bad for the likes of Barnage and Benjamin, probably the few bright spots in that offense for Cleveland. Other than that, the rest are terrible. Their defense is dead last against the run. They give up 141 yards. Chris Johnson's just licking at the chops for this.
Oh, definitely.
Second in the league, 561 yards. Yeah, Arizona Cardinals all day. A battle of the NFC South. You got the Buccaneers going up against the Falcons.
Exactly which Tampa team is going to show up? Is it going to be the Tampa team that's gotten 2 big wins this year with Jameis Winston? Or is it going to be the Tampa team that's fallen flat on their face 5 times this season? Going up against the first-place Falcons, all bets are off here. I like Atlanta.
Oh, me too. Hot Atlanta is thriving, I think. Even though last week, yes, they barely won 10-7, but the person who's really been great on their offense is second-year running back Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
He leads the league with 631 yards, 621 yards in the year. He's averaging 36.0 yards with about 5.68 per carry in the last 3 games, and he hasn't turned the ball over at all this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mark of a good back right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I got the Falcons winning this one. Now, the next battle right here, the NFC West. The 49ers visiting the Rams.
I keep telling you, don't sleep on the Rams. They may be a 500 squad, but they play hard every single game here. And going up against a team like the 49ers that has struggled mightily this season, on paper, Colin Kaepernick is the better quarterback. But overall, St. Louis has the better defense. And I think that's what wins this game for the Rams. I like the Rams in this one.
I like the Rams' defense, too. Even though, yes, Alec Ogletree is done for the year, unfortunately, with that leg injury. And then, but you still got some Mick Leod, who's really another good secondary player right there. They got some good players on the line, like Robert Quinn. Mm-hmm. They got Aaron Donald, too. They got some monsters. And Todd Gurley has had 3 straight 100-yard games on the ground. He's the first Rams back to do that since Eric Dickerson, 1983, when he had that record-breaking year of over 2,110 yards, I believe.
That's right.
It was just an unbelievable year for Dickerson. Some people may think this guy could be the second coming of Dickerson or Marshall Faulk, but he's still a rookie. Let's see where this goes.
Way too much pressure to be putting on that kid. Those other 2 guys that you mentioned are already in the Hall of Fame. Todd Gurley's coming off a major knee injury. Give the kid a chance, please.
Definitely. But, yeah, Rams, because Nick Foles, he's not contributing much. I'm going with the Rams. Now you got the Chargers visiting the Ravens. Both teams in desperation mode for a victory.
The Ravens have 1 victory this season. They have been the single biggest disappointment in that league this season. Joe Flacco looks lost. They're not getting any scoring whatsoever from their offense.
Their defense is terrible. They've given up they're 26th in points allowed. They give up 26.9 points a game. When they lost their leader in the defense, Terrell Suggs, the first week of the year, that killed them.
Yeah.
That really, because he was that veteran presence. He was that Ray Lewis that they needed to get them fired up and ready to go.
And this is where San Diego takes advantage. A traditionally high-scoring team like the Chargers, with Phillip Rivers just tearing opposing defenses to pieces. I shudder to think what he'll do against an undermanned Ravens squad. I like San Diego in this one.
Rivers leads the league with over 2,452 passing yards. Mm-hmm. He's on pace to break the single-season record that Manning had in 2013.
There you go.
He's having a heck of a year, but I want to see Melvin Gordon contribute. This has got to be the game where he breaks out.
That's right.
But I'm going with the Chargers. I'm sorry. You know what? I was originally going to go with the Ravens, but you know what? I'm going with the Chargers. All right, the next game right here.
Back in jolly old England once again. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the last of the games that are going to be played in London for the rest of the season, correct? Lions and Chiefs taking place.
9:30 on Fox.
2 more desperate teams that really are looking for the win right now. I don't know what's happened to the Lions, to be honest with you. Offensively, they're having problems scoring. Defensively, they're a complete mess, especially with Ndamukong Suh gone. For some reason, Calvin Johnson just cannot seem to get it going right now. I'm already hearing he's in trade rumors all of a sudden.
With the contract that he has, there's no team that's going to pick up that kind of money because that could hurt them in terms of cap issues down the line.
But when you think about it, though, a team that really, really, really needs a go-to receiver, they will not be shy about making a deal for this guy. But that's beside the point. The point is this game features 2 teams that desperately need a win, and right now, Kansas City is the better team. I like the Chiefs in this one.
Actually, I'm going to go this week with the Detroit Lions to win this week. I think this is the week where they will see the explosiveness of this offense. I think Jim Bob Cooter, who's going to be the new offensive coordinator, sounds like a character out of the Dukes of Hazzard or the Little House on the Prairie. But nonetheless, I think we're going to see him really get the running game back. They're dead last in the league with 68.0 rushing yards. I think this is the week where we're going to see Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah break out for some big gains against Kansas City. I'm going with the Lions.
There you go.
And finally, we got a battle of the AFC South. The Houston Texans playing against the Tennessee Titans.
This is basically to see who stays out of the AFC South. This is one of your cover your eyes and point type of game because both teams are awful. The Texans have no quarterback. The Titans are missing their quarterback because Marcus Mariota is hurt. We don't know if he's going to be available for Sunday's game.
Another week of Mettenberger. Ouch.
Oh, brother. I'm not even going to dwell on this one. Let's just move on, please.
I'm going this week, though, with the Houston Texans. I think this week when Hoyer and the team, after what happened, I think they're going to be reunited and kicking some butt. Now, let's go to Week 9 college football. with about 10 minutes. North Carolina last night defeated Pittsburgh 26-19.
Yeah, a big upset victory by the Tar Heels on Tobacco Road, basically damaging whatever chances Pittsburgh had of winning the ACC title.
I know, crazy victory for them to have control of the Coastal Division. We got the Oklahoma State Cowboys visiting the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Well, traditionally, you have two teams that can be pretty high scoring. Texas Tech, of course, coached by the former star quarterback Cliff Kingsbury. This is one of your cover your eyes and point games as well, because either of these teams can go for points at any single time. But
Texas,
if I had to pick, probably Texas Tech.
Are you kidding me? A team that has allowed in their 3 losses 55 points in this game. They average 46 points, yet they give up almost 50 points a game. They give up. It's just their offense has honestly hurt them. Their defense has hurt them, and yet their offense, has hurt too. Patrick Mahomes, 10 interceptions. No way. I'm going with Oklahoma State and the Cowboys. Number 1 in sacks per game. Their defense is just on fire. Now, the Michigan Wolverines, 15th in the nation, going up against the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
This is one of the traditional rivalry games where they go for the little brown jug. Michigan has completely dominated in this series, and Minnesota playing a little somber this week because their head coach, Jerry Kill, retired, effective immediately.
He's been dealing with epilepsy issues for the past few years. This is why you haven't seen him on the road sometimes or on the field with them. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had 100% health. He's been there since 2011. Believe me, he's going to be missed sorely from this team. But, they really got to move on because their offense has been horrible. 101st in total offense this year. Mm-hmm. Tracy Claeys has got to find a way to get this Golden Gophers team going at home against a Wolverine squad coming off a disappointing loss at the Big House against Michigan State. But I'm going Michigan to win this one. Okay, Ole Miss Rebels, Auburn Tigers, SEC West clash right here.
Yep, two teams that are trying to make something out of their season. Auburn's been a major disappointment this year. Ole Miss still with a slim at best shot at taking the SEC West right now, although LSU has a lot to say in that matter. Right now, this has an Ole Miss victory written all over it. Auburn's been way too disappointing.
Yeah, I definitely see Ole Miss tearing Auburn and their defense that gives it 5.67 yards a play, actually 5.73 in Jordan Hare. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. The undefeated Tigers from Clemson, number 3 in the nation, the only undefeated left in the ACC, taking on the North Carolina State Wolfpack at 5-2.
Careful with this one because NC State has had a history of pulling off some really big upsets in the past. This looks like a trap game for me.
But you know what? If you think about it, Matt Davies, explosive running with 12 rushing touchdowns, averaging 6.34 yards a carry. And you got Jacoby Brissett, the former Florida Gator quarterback, transferred last year to NC State. But it really is Deshaun Watson for Clemson that has been outstanding. 4 touchdowns last week in that 58-0 blowout over Miami, which led to Al Golden getting fired.
Yeah.
So I really think Clemson is going to do well on the road. I go with them to win over the Wolfpack.
I like Clemson as well, but with extreme caution. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people give him credit for. Don't be surprised if you see a touchdown get decided within the last minute.
Then you got a battle of the Pac-12 North right here. The Stanford Cardinal, 8th in the nation, with Christian McCaffrey leading the nation at 260 all-purpose yards a game, going up against the Washington State Cougars at 5-2.
Bottom line, Stanford's better.
Oh, without a doubt. Stanford has got this. Ever since they lost early in the season to Northwestern, they've won. They've won 6 games in a row. Make this number 7 right here.
And right now, surprisingly, Stanford could be the best team in the conference.
They're undefeated, 5-0 in the conference. They got this. And Christian Hogan's actually doing well, too. Now you got another Pac-12 matchup. In the South Division, the USC Trojans and the California Golden Bears.
Game being played in Berkeley right now. USC has had a very, very up-and-down season. Cal's been the same way, although you really couldn't tell with their respective records. Right now, I like USC to win this one.
I do too. You know what? USC last week had a big victory on the road. I think they're going to have another big victory as well tomorrow against California. Jared Goff, man, if they want to win California, they got to protect them better. And I mentioned earlier the 26-19. Okay, now we got West Virginia last night got toasted by the TCU Horned Frogs 40-10.
I think we know exactly who the best team in the Big 12 conference is right now. It's Texas Christian.
Yeah, Trevon Boykin had 3 touchdowns on the day, ran for 11 times for 84 yards, actually put a linebacker over his shoulders. It was insane last night for TCU. They just are outstanding, this team. Trevon Boykin is one of the top 5 candidates for this year's Heisman, for sure, and a first-round pick probably. Man, this game is so exciting to be talking about right here.
Yeah, there could be something for Temple Owl fans to be crowing about. They're hosting Notre Dame this weekend in a game that's going to be at the Link. You can obviously tell that Notre Dame is going to have the majority of the fans there. Philadelphia has never been a great college town. They've only been a pro sports town only. It all rests with the Eagles first and foremost. But Temple has been really, really intriguing this season. They're undefeated overall. They lead the American Athletic Conference. Notre Dame, aside from the only loss that they've had this season, Notre Dame has had a very, very solid year. This is the signature win that Temple could really use to try and build themselves up for a slim BCS bowl bid. But I still like Notre Dame in this one. They're just way too much better.
You know, Notre Dame is playing for their next 5 on the road from South Bend. You know, the last time that they played, they lost by 1 point to Clemson. But they're going to lose this week. I'm going with Temple. Jahad Thomas, 14 total touchdowns, all-purpose, amazing player that he is. And the way that Temple played early in the season, beating Penn State, I think they can handle this big pressure situation. College Game Day is going to be in Philadelphia tomorrow for the very first time. This is unbelievable. Now, the final game of the week, the world's largest outdoor party.
Yeah, also known as Florida versus Georgia. Of course, he being the big Florida fan. It's amazing what the Gators have done with a change in leadership on the sidelines. They've actually been good this season, leading the Southeastern Conference's Eastern Division, and that's what this game boils down to. Who's going to take the Eastern Division title?
Right now, Georgia sits at 3-2. Both teams are actually coming off their bye weeks. Before their bye weeks, Georgia just barely beat Missouri 9-6 on the road, and that was their first game without Nick Chubb, who in the week before was lost for the season in the Alabama game. I think it was the Alabama game where he tore his ACL and done for the year.
That's right.
And then you had Florida also was coming off their bye week. The week before, they lost 35-28 to LSU on a fourth quarter touchdown on a fake field goal by the kicker.
Yep.
Like, it was a crazy-looking Statue of Liberty play. But nonetheless, Will Grier, I think they had at least 2 weeks to work the offense towards him because, well, actually not Will Grier, Treon Harris, because Will Grier is done for the year because of PEDs. Yeah, the idiot. PEDs he got suspended for.
Amazing.
So, in this game, you know, Sony Michel is going to have a big game, but so is Taylor for the Florida Gators on the ground. Whoever has the biggest running game of the two will win.
There you go.
I'm going with Florida, obviously. And then there's some noticeable games this coming week. Florida Atlantic against Florida International.
Yeah, that's the battle of South Florida, if you will. There's also the battle of the Bayou, Lafayette taking on Monroe, Kentucky and Tennessee squaring off in the Southeastern Conference.
And Keenan Reynolds. Yeah, Keenan Reynolds watch. The quarterback for the Navy midshipmen in the American Athletic Conference. First year they're in there. Only 1 loss in the season. He's got 75 rushing touchdowns in his career. He's just 2 away from tying Monte Ball for the all-time FBS record. And 3 from...
and he's done that in total anonymity, considering that Navy very rarely gets any attention their way, except for when the Navy-Army game comes around.
I know. It's just unbelievable. I cannot wait to see what Week 9... the fact that it's Week 9.
Yeah. That's
just crazy. And then this coming Tuesday will be the first college football playoff rankings.
That's right.
So I expect to see TCU in there in the top 4.
I definitely expect TCU in there. I definitely expect Ohio State in there.
Oh, yeah.
Expect Clemson to be there as well.
And I think Baylor.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
also Baylor.
Those are probably going to be the top 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
2 from the Big 12. Isn't that insane right there?
Yep.
All right. I cannot wait for all the games next week. Jamie, always a pleasure doing the show.
Always a pleasure working with you as well. Hope you have a wonderful and safe Halloween weekend. And also, don't forget to set your clocks back an hour because daylight savings time officially ends Sunday morning.
That's right. I'm Eric.
And I'm Jamie.
And for Kenny Graham behind the booth, this has been the Blitz Zone. We'll see you next week.